If there's a narrative to be had, Spurs, well, for the opposition that is anyway, Spurs are they're going to give it you, aren't they? Antoine Semenyo walks off into the Bournemouth sunset, the hero, giving them their first win in 11 games, is it? Of course, he scores an injury time screamer against us. Boyhood Arsenal fan, spurned Spurs this transfer window, inexplicably plays one last game for the club after apparently already signing for City or whatever. I don't know. Of course that happens. Of course he scores. Of course we lose again. Of course Bournemouth win their first game in however long. I'm livid tonight. I really am annoyed. I just there's no fight. There's no fight in this lot. Like there just isn't. Bit of a sort of spirited few minutes. Polinia scores again a speculative goal, pretty unbelievable goal to be fair for him. But then just instantly you feel like something's going to happen. It's going to happen the other way. As soon as they went 2-1 up at the start, we got our early goal. Tell went off script, didn't he? Cuts inside, shoots early, gets a goal. Funny how that happens, isn't it? Shoot at goal. Goal is sometimes scored. There's some notes for you, Thomas. And as soon as they went, they got their 2 goals. Was anyone at any point thinking we were gonna come back into it? Really? Did anyone think we were going to win it? Honestly, no. Is there anything about this club, this team, this manager that makes you think we are that team anymore? And people don't want to hear it. People, when I sort of float this thing, for the most part, will say, not a chance. Don't be ridiculous. We're in serious trouble. We're in serious trouble. My whole life, we've spoken about Spurs in the 90s, in the noughties, how bad that was. Oh, God, that was the nadir of Tottenham. And we reflect on that. We talk about how terrible it was. We think about like Jurgen Klinsmann saving us away at Selhurst Park, Wimbledon. And that's always the flaw, isn't it? That's always been the flaw. We build up from there. We're back there. We're worse. We haven't got a Jurgen Klinsmann now. We haven't got anything close to that. We haven't got a Teddy Sheringham. We've got nothing, man. People can bury their heads in the sand for as long as they want. Our form is terminal. And it has been for 2 seasons now. We're appalling. Teams know they can get us. And if we're not in serious trouble this year, people say, nah, it's fine. There's teams worse than us. Are there? Are there actually? Honestly, are there really? Are the teams that are, right, Wolves? I don't see us as miles better than West Ham at all. I think you're naive if you think that Spurs are not really in danger, really in a lot of trouble right now. I'm not saying we're definitely going, but what I'm saying is this season can get very uncomfortable. And if there isn't a wholesale change at the club, the outlook, the ethos, the playing staff, all of it, next season could be the one. It could be it. And I don't even think this is just reactive. Spurs have not done very well today. Fan loses his head and says something ridiculous. I don't think it's that ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous if you. I'll put it back at you. I think you are ridiculous if you don't seriously take a look at the way Spurs' form has been trending these past few years. I think you're ridiculous if you don't consider that we now have people running the club that have minimal experience running any type of football club, let alone a club of this level. I don't know what to say, man. I don't like, I know people often come here for the sort of the post-match therapy, the funny, whatever, talking about theme hospital or greetings cards or something. I haven't got it in me today, man. I just don't have it in me. Like, I can't take this. I can't take this much longer. I can't take seeing Spurs this bad. It's as bad as we've ever been in my entire life. I can sit here and moan about Thomas Frank. This manager hasn't done this. It's not just about him. The whole thing feels rotten. The whole thing just feels done. What can I say other than the things I say and have been saying for genuinely like the past decade? Like, like we sort of cling on to this, at least many people do, cling on to this naive sense that we're somebody because we're Tottenham Hotspur and we've got this stadium and we're in London. It doesn't matter, man. If anything, that acts against us. That makes people want to beat us. And the problem is now, and people always wanted to beat us, and they tried extra hard to beat us when we actually had a good team. Kane, Son, Eriksen, Ali, blah, 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 blah. People went above and beyond to make sure that Spurs didn't actually achieve anything. And what did the club do? One by one by one by one. World-class player leaves, world-class player leaves, world-class player leaves. Transfer window after transfer window after transfer window. What are we doing? Bottom feeding. Opportunistic deals. Just packing the squad full of took players. And then we're surprised that we end up here. Yeah, Thomas Frank's boring. Thomas Frank drunk from an Arsenal cup before this game, quite weirdly. It doesn't seem to be AI. It doesn't seem to be photoshopped. If you've not seen it, it's very, very bizarre. I don't get it. I don't get what's going on there. Like, why is the manager of Tottenham Hotspur drinking from an Arsenal cup before a game? If somehow this isn't some elaborate Photoshop, it could well be. The jury could be out, but the signs are not looking good. It's bizarre. People can say it doesn't matter. People can say grow up. These things do matter. Of course they matter. The optics of it are terrible. We're talking about a guy that everyone's complaining doesn't understand the club, doesn't get the values, and then ahead of a game like this is drinking from an Arsenal cup. Maybe it's fake. I'm not going to waste much more breath on that one. If it is fake, then it's fake and whatever. But doesn't take away from the point that Thomas Frank is just a strange, uninspiring chap who halfway through a season seems to be more interested in self-preservation than he is actually giving the club some hope, giving the fans something to believe in. Fine, all right, whatever. But again, yeah, it's not all on him. What are we on now? January the 7th. Really any tangible links for Spurs buying any new players? No. Few 18-year-olds, 18-year-old Brazilian left-back, some sort of left-winger lad that we're apparently in competition with Anderlecht for. That's the pool we're swimming around in, Like, that's what we're doing. You can cling on to this sense that, like, no, it would never happen to Spurs. It would never happen. We'll spend. Will we spend? We haven't done. Right. We haven't done. We don't. Not properly. I mean, maybe we will. There's a long time to go in January, really. It will go surprisingly quickly, but I don't know, man. I feel a bit defeated today. I feel a bit defeated. I feel wound up. I feel annoyed after that game. I think, again, it's another loss. It's another predictable loss. I thought we'd lose this game ahead of it. You sort of give your head a shake. You think, come on, be a bit hopeful. That's not the attitude, all that type of thing. And then, look, We go and lose. Of course we do. The headlines are Antoine Semenyo scores in his last game before going to Manchester City. It's at Spurs' expense again. Of course it is. Of course it is. You know? I'm just tired of this, man. I'm tired of us just being that club that just does that. Like, it just rolls over for other clubs, for other players. Lets other people have the nice ending. You know? It's constant, man. So my phone's making all sorts of noises in my pocket. I think it's like voice activated stuff. Let me just try and sort that out. Do you want, man? Like, I think we're in trouble. I think the club is directionless. I think the people in charge have no clue. I think the manager has no clue. I think the majority of players in this squad are crap. Can't be asked to sugarcoat it anymore. Can't be asked to brightside it. I think the majority of them are crap. I do. Yeah. I just feel a bit defeated tonight. I do. Delpha Chronic says, come on, lad, let's get this out of our system. Totti Rule says this should be fun. Echo Sonic Music says, wow, just wow. A team with the muscle memory failure. Yep. Rob Stone says, group hug. Can do, mate, if it makes you feel better. El Gajo says, every passing day is another drip of water in the Chinese water torture that is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Coys McCoy's face says, it's time to go. Someone has just said, I've just seen the City score. What's going on? And Man City have drawn at home to... Well, Arsenal won the league. We know Arsenal won the league. Like, they have done. Like, just like, don't... Do you know what I mean? Get it out of your system now. You don't want to hear it. You don't like me talking about them. But they're a team that have said they want to win stuff. They've backed the manager heartily. They've bought actually good players that are high quality. They've given players massive wages. You know? What do you think was going to happen? They've done everything, literally everything we have wanted our club to do. With their Pochettino, and I hate even making the equivalence between Arteta and Pochettino, but it's what it is. They have backed their Pochettino. And look, they're reaping the rewards, and they're going to. They're probably going to win the treble or something, and we're going to go down. You know? Here's what you could have won. Again, it's one of those things like you don't want to hear me talk about Arsenal. Get over it. Like, get over it. You know? They're a well-run club and they're going to reap the benefits of that. That's what it is. You know? We spend our whole lives getting behind Manchester City and hoping that they, you know, manage to stop Arsenal, all that type of stuff. We can just accept the fact that they've done it the right way. They've done everything that we wish our club would do. But we don't. Because the people in charge of the club are losers. They are. They're losers. And they're fleecing everybody and they're taking the majority of fans for mugs. Charging some of the most expensive prices in the country to go and watch this gruel. Look at this. It's pathetic, man. It's pathetic. Replace Harry Kane with Dominic Solanke. Like... Oh, and Richarlison, sorry, yeah. An opportunistic deal for Richarlison. Harry Kane. The greatest player in the club's history. Mr. Stephen Stotch says, the worst we've ever had, from the tactics to how he belittles the club in press every week, telling us we're not a top club anymore, to the Arsenal Cup today, a tiny thing, but get him gone. Yeah, but get him gone and whoever else comes in. What? De Zerbi? Marco Silva, great, fun. Just Keith, shocking again, not even surprised anymore. Yep. Billa G says he has to go, blood. Dan Strickland says, I hate this team. I was born into this. I'll never stop supporting Spurs, but I hate them. John Benfield says, Charlie Parish summed it up so well. It's a load of blokes trying to run as far as they can up the field before they're tackled, hoping that they're either fouled or win a corner. Hashtag Frank Ball. Yep. Pirate Dread Roberts says, millions and millions of pounds, chap. Millions. He's a millionaire. If he gets sacked now, he's a multiple millionaire. He's going to turn out one of the most abysmal, abominable performances a manager has ever turned out at this club. He might as well have literally pulled down his trousers and pants, squatted on the sideline and curled one out and pointed at it and said, enjoy that, you cretins. And he would be a millionaire. He could probably literally maybe that would be gross misconduct and the club might have. I'd be interested to know if there's any legal eagles, any legal boffins in the chat right now. You can let me know. Would that qualify? Would passing feces on the sideline of a Premier League match, would that class as gross misconduct? Would the club, I mean, it would be gross. Would the club have to pay him off for that? I don't know. Interesting. But for this metaphorical pile of excrement, if he gets sacked, he will be a multiple millionaire. All those replica shirts and, novelty Tottenham Christmas hats and things that you just sort of think, get on a whim. Oh, look at that. Look at those drippy garms they've just released in the club shop, eh? It's a blue jumper, but he's got an old badge on it. Here you go. Here's £80 of my money. Here's £80. Go on, have it. Have it. It's got the old badge on it. It's got the old, but it's blue, and it's got the old badge. And yeah, there's £80. And you know what? That's going in Thomas Frank's pocket. Millions of those pounds. Jack Underhill says, I genuinely felt nothing when Semenyo scored, except annoyance at Vicario, yapping and flapping as per. Ratchet Rabbit says, the only hope I have after that is that he's sacked. Totty Rule says, October the 19th was the last time Bournemouth won. Ricochet Pig says, to make it all worse, City are doing their best to bottle the title. Yeah, but it's done. It's done. Kugo says, this Semenyo stuff doesn't happen to any other club. Also, there's literally no argument to keep Frank anymore. Yep. Ben Mathis says, shocking performance aside, he should be sacked for the picture of him drinking out an Arsenal cup. Don't care if that's wobble-headed. It's a piss take. I agree, mate. I agree. Here's what it is, man. People I don't know if you saw there was some thing with the Celtic manager that got sacked. His tactics board was blue and red or whatever, like the pins that he used. Celtic fans were kicking off about it. Do you know what I mean? It's not, football fans are simpletons. We are. Like we all are. It's tribal. It's base and it's stupid and it's silly, but without that, we are nothing. It's those stupid, intangible, emotional links that elevate this past just, I have an iPhone, I have an Android phone. Ha ha ha. Let's have a minor comical disagreement about the route in which we take to open up WhatsApp or whatever. Like, you can say grow up. You can say it means nothing to see a Tottenham manager, glibly smirking as he drinks some an Arsenal cup ahead of a game when we're, in abysmal, terrible form and he's getting booed week in, week out. But then I don't think this is a sport for you. But again, it might just be a Photoshop. This all might just be an elaborate hoax. So my head keeps falling off about that. It's just a paper cup with an Arsenal crest on it. But it means something, doesn't it? Stel Morrison says, the TV cut from Iraola to Frank. This is where we are now. Mid-level, mid-table fodder. This is Tottenham. Jan M says, nothing, nada, niente. No cohesion. I can't see where we're going at all. Yep. Bang on. Brian Park, Eze hat-trick against us. Semenyo farewell, wonder goal. What next? What next? Spurs getting relegated the year Arsenal win the league again? You know, maybe. Jack Underhill also says, Tell's effort and attitude is top, as Frank would say. Moani couldn't give an F, though, could he? Peter Turner says, we are inevitable. Ollie Whitefoot, I'm 44, been supporting since 87. This is the most detached -- disillusioned I felt with the club, maybe ever. Don't feel anything for these players right now. No, and I agree with you, mate. I'm of a similar sort of, you know, era to you. And I guess the sort of the thing is, you know, that sort of 90s period of being a bit whiffy, of things kind of, you know, on a bit of a slide. We were maybe a bit too young to fully appreciate it. Internet didn't exist then. We weren't having Arsenal sort of success rammed in our face in quite the same way. Although, you know, our club captain did end up going there and winning the double. So, you know, I always felt like, mate, even back then there was a bit more hope. Like there was something, wasn't there? And Spurs have pretty much always had. I've said this before on here, but one of my old mates, Jay, if you're watching, he said to me sort of back in the day, he said the thing that's annoying about Spurs, he's West Ham, but the thing he said is the thing that's always annoying about Spurs is you're crap, but you always usually have one like world-class player. And you can track it, can't you? You know, whether it's Klinsmann, Sheringham, Berbatov, Ledley King, so on and so forth, right? We've usually always got somebody that's just unbelievable, a baller that can drag us out. I don't think we've got that. I don't think we got anything close to that anymore. Nothing. There's nothing on the horizon. Is Vuskovic going to come through and save us? Maybe. Don't know. Some people worry about his physicality, his ability to adapt to the Premier League, especially in the sort of systems that are, you know, implemented in the Premier League nowadays. But other than that, you know, who is that? James Maddison? Does he come back next season? And, you know, didn't do Leicester much good, did it? Area 7000 says he should be fired for drinking from that Arsenal Cup pre-game. Stel Morrison says Frank is dull and uninspiring. Watch his press conferences and you can feel the boredom in the room. He looks like a background character from a Tolkien book. Lots of spells, but no magic. Yeah. Matey B says, biggest group of unlikable, talentless players in all my years supporting. Led by a bloke who is the biggest PE teacher fraud in the league. I hate this club. Pathetic. I honestly, mate, I hear you. I really do feel like this is by far the most dislikable group of players we've ever had. Most dislikable ensemble of players we've ever had. And they won us Europa League. Right? You know? James Nicholson, losing has become normalised. Not sure how that changes. What I would do is give Poch a massive contract for the summer and do the caretaker thing until then. Yep. Jordan Emmett says, I thought that was our liveliest attacking performance in a while. Regardless of Frank in, out, I enjoyed watching large swathes of that for the first time in a long time today. There you go. There's some hope poking through. Glad you enjoyed it, Jordan. Juan Hodges says, Frank looks beyond lost on the sideline, an absolute fraud. That being said, our team is muck. Mismanagement of the club from top to bottom for the last 5 or 6 years. Could we go down? Yeah, I think we could. Genuinely think we could. Echosonic Music said, just remembered that I've dropped a load on 3 tickets for Saturday. Crap. Yeah. James Reed says, we genuinely feel like a club on the precipice of disaster. Data, vibes, metrics, all of it trending downwards. Another 6 weeks of this PE teacher and we'll be scrapping in the trenches with West Ham. I honestly believe that. I agree with you, mate. You know, our fixtures coming up in February are disgusting. They're disgusting. Jed Watson says, you're actually spot on about relegation, and we deserve it. We've been embarrassing for 2 years, and it says a lot that there's been 6 teams worse than us in that time. I can't quite believe it. James Reed also says the whole country will rally together and practically blow the ball into the net every week. If that bad thing happens, if we get relegated, they'll celebrate like it's a royal wedding. Bang on. Absolutely spot on. Totti Rule says Rando Kalamawani is trash. I think he's got talent, but what's the point? He doesn't care, SJ Booth says, are we allowed to voluntarily take relegation? DJ Tucker says Danny Rose was right 5 years ago. It was a bit longer than that ago now, mate. Talking about a decade ago now. Danny Rose was right 5 years ago. We signed promising nobodies. Not one signing has been better than the last player who, I don't know, left, I guess. Ricochet Pig says Wolves are catching up. K9 McGurn says a loss to Villa in the FA Cup on Saturday. It's Sunday, isn't it? I think. No, it's Saturday, sorry. You're right. Lost to Villa in the FA Cup on Saturday and the season is over. Alan Leslie says that result and performance was worrying, but so predictable. I can't listen to a single word Frank says. Brian Park says, I also think this is the most unlikable Spurs side of my lifetime. We've got a Gooner CEO, our manager's a PE teacher, a mid-table squad. We need a big overhaul. Peter Turner says, on the brighter side, if we get relegated, we would challenge for a title. Mate, we'd come second, and you know we would. We'd come back up, but we'd come second. I'm telling you. MJBTHFC 1991 says, I'm a lot angrier than I thought I'd be. I was disillusioned by most of this season, but I cannot stand what we've become. It's exactly where I am, mate. Like, I can't stomach this anymore. I can't take it. It's miserable. Don't care. Like, cast whatever aspersions anybody wants to at me about bottle and this and that. I'm tired of watching Spurs be this bad. It's painful, man. Like, it's horrible. It's painful. James Glanville says, what is the point in this pathetic club? Owners, managers, players, all pathetic. Budget Man United, bang in trouble. Ricochet Pig has also said, agree, Jack, we're on a slippery slope. John Lack says, Cupgate, ? Cupgate indeed. We'll see. Matey B says, it's on Twitter that Van de Ven gave it to the fans. It's our fault again. Our fault we only score from corners. Our fault we can't defend. It's our fault the players walk around with their hands on their hips. I thought he was. I saw at the end when I saw him like gesturing and all this type of stuff. Like, tired of this lot, man. Like, I really like Mickey Van de Ven, but that's a serious misstep from him. And let's not forget he's the player that sulked off the pitch in public past the manager, whatever we think of Thomas Frank, Like, he's not exactly showering himself in glory as a professional this year. But it's fine. Go and do your interviews with Gary Neville and all that and talk about how you want to be the best centre-back in the world. Why don't you try, like, keeping your eyes on the man you're marking for once? So maybe you won't have to make so many last-ditch tackles, you big, fast Dutch horse. Really 82 says, I've run out of ideas and thoughts. Totti Rule says, get James Moore back on. That will be a great episode. I hope to. Keep asking him to. He's always got some excuse, though. Oh, I'm busy doing a real job. Pathetic, isn't it? Sonny J says, all right, mate, are you the same guy who used to make the animated videos as to Trunk with Levy, etc. back in the day? If so, you were the guy. Loved it. Thank you very much, mate. It was me. I do one every now and again now. Might have a lot more material coming up to do some more, but, Phil Mayo, I've watched Tottenham Hotspur Football Club go backwards from a free kick today. Yeah. Brett Nurse says, we're the equivalent of an overcoached under-11s team. So much potential, energy, and presumably reasons to impress from our younger players, and they've been strangled to death by this manager. Beanie Guy says Thomas Frank sacking imminent. We can only hope so. Billagy says no Seth Rogen impressions again until the threat of relegation is removed. Fine by me. I've also been saying, Jed Watson says, I've also been saying to my mates, we're primed to go down within the next 3 to 5 years. Ownership haven't got a clue. Turncoat CEO. Consistently bad managerial and player signings. Don't know how it turns around. This is it. It just feels like there's absolutely nobody at the club who has a clue. Absolutely nobody. James Forster 6882 says, this seems to be the accepted norm now with the club. It's sad to see how much losing doesn't seem to matter anymore. The G now says the Arsenal Cup picture is not fake, it's on Getty. I'm just wondering if it's like Inception. I'm wondering if like the Getty image has been faked. That's just my last. Maybe, I'll tell you what, I'm going to look at, because this makes for awesome podcasting content. I'm going to search now on Getty Images. Let's have a look. Right, accept. Thomas Frank Bournemouth. Let's see what Getty Images. Okay, right. So this is all just. I've now got some pictures of like the coastline and stuff. Maybe I need to get to like Getty Sport. Let's have a look. Here we go. Right, Thomas Frank Bournemouth. I'm settling this once and for all because, it's important to do that, isn't it? What is it? 7th of January today, isn't it? Yeah. Right. Let's, how can we sort this out by like the latest? I've got loads of rando pictures from newest. There we go. Right. So, yep, it's true. It's real. I'm telling you now, I'm looking at Getty Images right now. I'm going to put the link on Twitter. Thomas Frank is drinking from an Arsenal cup pre-game. That is bizarre. Here is the link to the Frank image for anybody saying that it's a fake. Get rid of him. What's he doing? It's stupid and it's ridiculous. It's stupid. Yeah, all right. I guess you could probably say fans are stupid and ridiculous for being annoyed about that, but that's what it is. That's the rules. That's what football is. You know? You don't come into football and expect to change the rules. Like, fans hate their rival clubs. This manager is, on his last legs as it is, and he's decided to have a big smile on his face and drink from an Arsenal cup before the game. It's stupid. It's stupid. And it feels like he's taking the piss. Brett Nurse says, everyone stare at a photo of the front of the stadium and say, sack Thomas Frank 3 times, and it probably still won't happen until several weeks too late. Oh, God. James Regal Comedy says, Jack, you're unlucky. Alf analogy was spot on. Just like in the sketch, you can see the disaster coming. You know the joke will happen, and it's always, always does. That's from the Fast Show. Have a look at Unlucky Alf. Oh, bugger. It's just Tottenham, Bob Rudge says, I hate to say this, but the disastrous decision-making of this club and disgraceful attitude of these players almost deserves relegation. I know what you're saying, mate, as a concept, but I don't want that. You don't want that. Fans don't deserve that, I've got to say, I really am sick and tired of this whole, like, they do deserve it. It's some of the most toxic, absolute bollocks. There's some of the most toxic fans going. They charge the highest prices in the country to go to games. They turn out, they pretty much fill out the stadium week in, week out. The away end is always full, always vocal, always. come rain or come shine, that away end is bulging. Always in full voice, always behind them. Yeah, it's become that sort of like, the sort of the in vogue thing now, isn't it? The Spurs fans this, the Spurs fans that. Let's have a meeting at half time against the Spurs fans. Thomas Frank telling us who's a real fan or who's not. Mouldy Pickle says, for years, I've heard that we're a championship club without Kane and Son. It's not looking too far away now. Yep. Mega Major Danger says, the club culture is rotten from top to bottom. You don't lose 22 league games if it isn't. Frank doesn't have the knackers to turn it around. The players don't respect him. Call it a day now. Yep. Wilson T says, it's done, Jacko, but Langer needs to follow him as well. We'll see. Hacker CPS says, relegation Fiorentina are nicking our sporting director. Ridley82 says, when we got Xavi over the line, I thought it was all change. Yeah. I mean, he was pathetic today as well. He was awful, but, I'm not going to single hit one. I mean, I just sort of didn't I? But it's Greasby said, the manager is actively taking the piss out of us now. That cup has sent my head to Mars. Yeah. And too right. Too right. Jack Kenny says, Frank is the problem. Ange got fifth with effectively the same squad. Just need to have some effing testicles and take it to the team. Our players are much better than Bournemouth's. Richard James says, my dude, we are so bad. Supercoys 1882 says, remember when we were hearing Kane might come back? Lol. Yeah. John Lack says, stop buying West Ham level players, but marketing us like Man City. Yep. Richard James says, where's our happy ending? Honestly, mate, it was Bilbao. I've spoken to, I think you won't mind me saying this, me and Phil have spoken about this as well. There's that part where we're like, that was it, wasn't it? Sonny winning the cup. We sold our souls for that. That's what we got. Lovely. And now, here we go. Beelzebub and all his minions are wreaking havoc upon us. The demons are, fouling upon the pitch. JM112 says, how come the bald guy that's always on the touchline never gets sat? Yeah, like hench Brad Friedel. Yeah, don't know. Dan Strickland says, what happened to BYOB? Could use that right now. Ben Haynes got really famous. Really famous and really busy. So, it was fun though. I loved it. I loved doing that. But, there we go. Rob Doherty said, you can just filter to newest. Yeah, I did. Sorry, that's about the Getty thing. Ali Raja says, so let me get this straight. Frank leaves Brentford. They get better. We get worse. Yeah, bang. Yeah. T. Gardner says, the cup has to be photoshopped. It's not, mate. It's bizarre. Sackable offence. Genuinely is. Rob Doherty says, we're not stupid for being annoyed by that. It's a lack of respect for us. It is. It is a lack of respect. Delpha Chronic says, I'm a Spurs fan because my English uncle made me a Spurs fan. He could... Okay, right. Yeah, I'm not reading that bit out. Alistair Gold has just asked Frank about the cup. He's not amused. Pip Walker says, that's a stunning lack of awareness from someone who is supposed to be a details guy. Ali Raja says, top 4-5 is ripe for the taking, more than it will be in the future, probably. And this manager just can't capitalise on it. Brendan McGurty says, Brentford are smashing everyone and performing to levels far beyond they were under him. He was clearly holding them back. Zorba the Greep says, tumbleweed. I guess maybe I was doing the Getty thing then. Apologies. Jeremy Kinsella says, Paddy Power have just tweeted, Mickey van der Ven has offered to fight Spurs fans. What a club. Mate. I think I've done, I don't know. I just think I've done enough moaning tonight. This is a mess. Frank's got to go. Like the cup thing, the cup thing's the end of it. Like it's just like it was said there. It's just a total lack of respect. It's total lack of respect for the fans, for the club that he's managing. You can call it silly, you can call it whatever it is, but that is what it is. Football is stupid. Football is tribal by its very nature. You know, I'm not going to apologise for my head falling off about that. It's just another miserable evening. We've lost again. We've done the predictable thing. It's pitiful. It's pitiful. And unless there is a serious overhaul in, as I say, the mentality, the playing staff, probably the backroom staff, all of it, there needs to be a drastic shake-up at this club, or we are going to continue to be in a lot of trouble. And the trouble's going to get worse. You can bury your head in the sand about it. You can call me deluded. You can call anyone else saying the same thing deluded. But this has been signposted for quite some time. Think about all those seasons where Harry Kane literally dragged us into decent enough positions, scoring goals, us winning games that we had no right to do. He ain't here anymore, you know, and don't we all know it? And this is what we're left with. It's a shocking state of affairs, and it's a managed decline. It's an ownership that has taken the piss for too long. They thought they were smarter than everybody else. They thought they'd always and forever be able to fill that stadium. Yeah, they ignored the fact. They ignored the fact that, you know, lots of fans. I'm not saying this in a derogatory way. I'm not saying this as a judgment. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying it for the pure fact of what it is. They ignored the fact that a lot of fans who weren't Tottenham fans came to the stadium to watch Son Heung-min. That's something that kept the stadium full for quite a while. They ignored the fact that people wanted to watch the likes of Son Heung-min anyway. Spurs fans, you know, you want to see the best players in the world playing for you. They want to see Harry Kane playing. But transfer window after transfer window after transfer window, we hedged our bets. We tried to play silly buggers. We always missed out on our so-called top targets. Players were always a bit too expensive. Wages were always a bit too much. Spurs are linked with this player. All right, everyone gets excited towards the end of the window. It's thought they wanted too much money. Time after time after time after time. And as I said at the top, our top talent slowly but surely all petered out. The club, that amazing, brilliant squad that we had, got whittled to nothing. And we were left with all the absolute dross that we signed in every single one of those transfer windows that we complained about. Every single one of those transfer windows, there would always be some holier-than-thou knob end that would tell you that you're being an idiot for being concerned about the transfer window. But it's all coming back now. It's all coming back to kick us square in the knackers or whatever nether regions you have. And that's it. I can't be bothered to moan anymore. I'm just going around in circles and, bring on the comments about people saying it's negative. But, I haven't got it in me tonight. I don't have it in me. Thanks very much for everyone for tuning in. Come on, you Spurs. Bye-bye. Good evening. Enjoy.